Hello, everyone. Welcome. So here we are today for another full moon meeting, this time in Scorpio. Before we start, I would just like to say that in many countries this weekend the time is going to change, and if there has been some mix up with the time of the meeting before. So next month we will for sure happen the same. So I just ask you to search for the right time on our website, and if your city isn't there, just Google, just try to find out what is the right time on the internet. Well, thank you for coming, and shall we start? Welcome, Philip.
Hi Ines, thanks for that. Yeah, just with the timetable on our website, can be confusing, but we're in the era of Zoom these days, so we all have to get used to it. But there will be daylight saving, of course, changing soon, and so next month the GMT time will be different than the one we've been using. But we'll provide a new table for that will last for 6 months, and before it changes again. So welcome everyone on this Scorpio Taurus full moon, very powerful period. I'm having a few technical difficulties today with internet in this small town in the north of France in my travels, but it seems to be holding so far so good. Sound is okay, I'm taking it.
Yes, the sound is very good actually.
But it may cut out now and again. We have had a lot of rain here, and I'm in this small town called Huelgoat, which is in Brittany in northwest France, and the home of the Rocking Stones. That's not the Rolling Stones, that's the Rocking Stones that are balanced here so finely that you can physically push a 167-ton rock with your own strength, which I did today. So I'm a bit sore from doing that, but I've got video of other people doing it as well. So anyway, a very important part of the world with regard to the ageless wisdom, and which is I've just been in the Karnak area just south of here for the last couple of weeks, and this is a foundation for my second book on the Hidden History series, tentatively titled Geography and Giants. So I just thought I'd chat for a few moments before we get started to wait for the proverbial latecomers, just for a couple more minutes. We're in this Scorpio full moon period. In fact, I'm going to share my screen. Let me see now. There it is. There we go. And it'll be the same meditation that we do every month.
Philip, I'm sorry to
More
interrupt,
universal
but
kind of meditation that most people are used to. I'm getting an
sorry.
internet unstable message at the moment, so yes. I'll stop sharing screen.
Yes, I think it's better to not
I'll
share,
stop
at
the
least
share.
during the meditation, because
Yeah, yeah.
immediately the started to fail the sound.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we know where we stand there. I'm glad we experimented with that. So, yeah, the Scorpio, of course, is a sign of discipleship, um, ruled by Mars at both the personality and the soul level. And we've had Mars going through Scorpio for the last few weeks, which I've been writing about in my last two newsletters with regard to the crisis in Israel. So today, at this full moon, which is exact tomorrow, we have Mars, Mercury, and the Sun in Scorpio, all conjunct one another, opposite the Moon in Taurus and Jupiter in Taurus. Jupiter, the planet of love, wisdom, which is exactly opposite Mars. Very interesting because Jupiter rules the heart center, Mars rules the solar plexus, and of course, our evolutionary journey is about raising energies consciously or unconsciously from the solar plexus center up into the heart. So this provides a unique opportunity. However, Jupiter can also exaggerate all the negative aspects of Mars, Mars the aggressor, god of war, and so forth. Jupiter can amplify the good and the bad in any planet that it aspects. And of course, this is the opposition. So the opposition implies conflict. So we haven't seen the worst of this possibly yet, and really humanity really hangs on the precipice right now with regard to world events. So in the meditation, we bear this in mind as we pour the energy through the 5 planetary centers. And so therefore, without further ado, we'll get started. And so I'll ask you all just to take a long, deep breath and exhale, releasing all the activity of the day thus far. Releasing all the tension in the body. Letting go of what you're going to do in a couple of hours' time, what you've already done. Just move into the present moment. Which of course is the heart. That quiet, still place. That sanctuary. And we sound the Om 3 times to purify the personality vehicles, mental, emotional, and physical. We become aware of the meditating groups and individuals all around the world today, linking up in a great triangle linked network of light, tapping into the 5 planetary centers, linking with those we have triangles with, linking with groups with which we work, which we know of, and so we start the first stage called group fusion. Group fusion. We affirm the fact of group fusion and integration within the heart center of the new group of world servers, mediating between hierarchy and humanity. And we sound the group formula for integration. I am one with my group brothers, and all that I have is theirs. May the love which is in my soul pour forth to them. May the strength which is in me lift and aid them. May the thoughts which my soul creates reach and encourage. Alignment. We project a line of lighted energy toward the spiritual hierarchy of the planet, the planetary heart, great ashram of Sanakumara, and towards the Christ at the center of hierarchy, the masters of wisdom, who are, of course, all gathered in these days around the full moon. So we project this beam of light towards the hierarchy, the planetary heart. And then we extend the line of light towards Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known. From where Sanakumara works, the planetary crown chakra. We extend a line of light from hierarchy to Shambhala. Higher interlude. Hold the contemplative mind open to the extraplanetary energies streaming into Shambhala and radiated out through hierarchy. Hold the contemplative mind open. Then, using the creative imagination, endeavor to see the three planetary centers, Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity, gradually coming into alignment and interplay. Meditation. Let us reflect upon the seed thought for Scorpio. Warrior am I, and from the battle I emerge triumphant. warrior am I, and from the battle I emerge triumphant. Reflect for a moment on what it is to be a warrior. Precipitation. Using the creative imagination, visualize the energies of light, love, and the will to good pouring throughout the planet and becoming anchored on Earth in prepared physical plane centers through which the plan can manifest. And so we use the sixfold progression of divine love as the sequence of energy precipitation. Shambhala, hierarchy, the Christ, the new group of world servers, men and women of goodwill everywhere, and the physical centers of distribution. So light, love, and the will to good pouring throughout the planet in this sixfold sequence. Lower interlude. Let us refocus the consciousness as a group within the periphery of the great ashram, and together sound the affirmation. In the center of all love I stand. From that center I, the soul, will outward move. From that center I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group, and throughout the world. Let us now visualize the downpouring spiritual inflow released from Shambhala through the hierarchy, streaming into humanity through the prepared channel. Consider how these inpouring energies are establishing the pathway of light for the coming world teacher, Lord Maitreya, or the Christ, as he's also known. Pathway of light, the coming world teacher. distribution. As the great invocation is sounded, visualize the outpouring of light and love and power from the spiritual hierarchy through the 5 planetary centers: London, Darjeeling, New York, Geneva, Tokyo, irradiating the consciousness of the whole human race. Great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Oh, oh, oh. Restore the plan on earth. Thanks, everyone. Okay, because of my bandwidth issues, I'm not going to be showing the screen today. So, but there's plenty to talk about. And let me just find my file here. Yeah. Just a moment. All right, so Scorpio is one of the intensest signs of the zodiac, particularly emotionally, the water sign. It's the scorpion, the survivor of the desert. Of course, it has other animals associated with it. The serpent who sheds its skin and regenerates itself, a symbol of Pluto, the co-ruler of Scorpio. And of course, the eagle that flies from on high and sees a soul's eye view of creation. And we know that Hercules, in the story of Hercules, in the eighth labor, he confronts the so-called nine-headed Hydra in this swamp of Lernea, the swamp being a great metaphor, the stinking swamp at that, with all those marsh gases and so forth, as a symbol of the lower subplanes of the astral plane, which we call hell, which has been created by humanity, as opposed to the higher subplanes of the astral plane, which are called heaven, also created by humanity. Both of them are illusory in many ways, but also real, especially for humanity, who is still, the majority of whom is still astrally polarized. I've said before that Scorpio rules over the second degree initiation, where the complete control demonstration of the astral body is finally demonstrated. And that can take many lives between the first degree initiation and the second. And once it's achieved, the other higher initiations, we're told, come fairly quickly within a life or two, or even in the same life. So ancient is the age-old polarization that goes right back to Atlantean times, where that race as a whole was polarized in astral consciousness. So the Tibetan tells us that 80%, I think he says about 80% of the world is still polarized in that astral consciousness. They're developing the mental faculty, of course. And in this fifth root race and the fifth sub race and the fifth branch race, the so-called 5.5.5 that I refer to, there is a certain percentage of humanity, maybe about 20%, who have reached that pinnacle of mental development and, in a sense, to hold it for the rest of the race. And as we've peaked at at this time, we are in fact developing the sixth branch race, which will be the seed of the sixth sub race, which will be the seed of the sixth root race, which will be developing that which is beyond the mind, the intuition. And of course, we have intuitive insights from lifetime to lifetime, but no one is entirely intuitive yet, only a master of wisdom, really. In other words, working from the plane of buddhi or intuition. So when the astral body is purged and purified, which is one of the key themes of Scorpio, to purge those 9 heads of the Hydra, sex, comfort, and money, hatred, desire for power, and fear, or pride, separativeness, and cruelty. Each of those 3 groups of 3 relate to the physical, astral, and mental planes, respectively. But once we've particularly purged those center 3, hatred, fear, desire for power, which we see so much in the world today, of course. Once the astral body is sufficiently purified and clarified, it becomes a mirror or an accurate reflector of the Buddhic consciousness coming or bypassing the mental plane and reflecting on the astral plane or within one's astral body. Some people are far more intuitive than others. They're more on the so-called 2, 4, 6 line of rays, whereas the others are more on the will line as opposed to the love line 1, 3, 5, 7, working for the mind. We all have a mixture of both, though, generally. So Scorpio is a great sign of testings and trials for initiation. It really puts us through our paces. It really makes us tread the burning ground of Pluto, the co-ruler of Scorpio, but also the esoteric ruler of Pisces. And it was discovered in 1930 towards the end of the age of Pisces. So just coming into human consciousness. And as the destroyer, Pluto destroys all the past crystallized patterns of the last 2,000 years cycle of Pisces. And of course, it's been going through Capricorn for the last several years and is going back into Aquarius soon, where it will stay to about 2040, 2041 in Aquarius, the sign which I see as a major signpost, bringing in the 2,000 year cycle of Aquarius. So the Tibetan tells us that in Scorpio, Hercules became the triumphant disciple in those 12 zodiac sign tests. He didn't pass them all. He failed a few of them. He failed the first one in Aries, for instance. But he became the triumphant disciple, and the Tibetan tells us that in Scorpio, he becomes the triumphant disciple. In Taurus, the Buddha achieved victory over desire and arrived at illumination. Taurus, the opposite sign of Scorpio, desire that arises in Taurus finds its fulfillment or satiation in Scorpio. The depth or darkness of the Scorpio experience reflects back in Taurus again as the mother of illumination. And the Buddha arrived at illumination, and his main teaching was about understanding the desire nature that keeps us trapped on the wheel of samsara. And then the Tibetan says in Pisces, so in Scorpio and Taurus, but in Pisces, the Christ, one who holds the office of the Christ, overcame death and became the world's savior. And that same being who holds that office will return again in the age of Aquarius, this next 2,000 year cycle of Aquarius. In fact, as we all know, as I've mentioned many times, 2025 is the time that the Christ and the assembled masters of wisdom of the hierarchy will meet with Sanat Kumara in the council chamber of Shambhala. Sounds really wild, doesn't it? And this is in their once in a century meeting where they will assess what transpired in the last 100 years since 1925, which was between the two world wars, of course. And also, this meeting will differ from any other recent centennial meetings because at this meeting, we're told they are going to decide when to externalize amongst humanity once again for the first time in millennia since the dying days of Atlantis. This is an incredible event that may even take place in our lifetime, but they'll make the decision in 2025. They won't necessarily come then, although many people wish they would, because humanity has to step up and stand up, has to pass some of the testings that have been applied right now. The fact that the hierarchy are returning brings a very high frequency with it that is in conflict with the status quo frequency that we all live in. And hence that creates conflict. That's partially responsible for conflict in the world. The other factor, of course, is the dark forces or the materialistic forces are aware of this plan, and they are throwing everything that they can at humanity right now in the last few years, in fact, in order to thwart plan in order to try and make humanity make mistakes and destroy itself. So we live in very daunting times right now. And it's the dweller on the threshold that Scorpio very much rules. The planetary dweller on the threshold, the planetary shadow that is being evoked now. Everything is happening at once on all levels you can think of. Everything's coming up and for review, and it's creating great division, which is what those materialistic forces want. They want to divide and conquer, divide and rule through setting humanity against their fellow humanity. So we've really gone through quite a few divisive issues in the last few years, whether it's been coronavirus or Ukraine. Now it's the Palestinians or the Israelis. Are you with us or against us? As people keep on saying, all the old tropes are being trotted out. And of course, we are all being tested to really inform ourselves what's going on these last few years. This is part of the testing, I think, to really discern what is, to bring in, to exercise the intuition, and figure out the best way that we can serve our local community, the world community, and so forth, our spiritual groups. So at times we've all felt helpless during this period, but of course, what's occurred in the last few years is that thousands and thousands of groups have been created of like-minded people who come together for some cause or another. And this is truly the age of Aquarius. This is the Aquarian way of being. It's group work, community, sharing, distribution of resources, and so forth. Yet all those opposite themes are being trying to be forced upon humanity. The very opposite of all that Aquarius stands for. This is the shadow of Aquarius. This is the end product of the Piscean age, of all the materialism that has developed during the Piscean age. And all the side effects of the expansion of consciousness, particularly along the mental line in the last few centuries, that has brought us the various industrial revolutions and so forth. So any questions or comments so far? Put in the chat there if you want to. We've got a good turnout today. Glad you could all make it. All right. I'm not sure whether all of you have read my last couple of newsletters. It doesn't matter if you haven't. But this conflict in the Middle East at the moment is really bringing many global threads to a head. And we have a group of restrained national leaders, and we have a group of other leaders who are hell-bent on aggression and the theft of resources or land and so forth. Taurus polarity of Scorpio represents those things. It represents possessions, money, land, resources. That's at its exoteric level, of course. The Buddha was a Taurus and demonstrated the acquisition of higher knowledge transformed into wisdom, as opposed to the acquisition of money and goods. And the opposite sign, Scorpio, is traditionally a sign of power. And in its lower aspect, we know that Scorpio is a sign of hatred, one of the heads of the Hydra, of course, desire for power, bitter emotional issues, revenge, jealousy, all those negative human emotions. It's interesting to note, esoterically speaking, Scorpio rules humanity as a whole, the fourth creative hierarchy, as we call it, which is talked about in esoteric astrology on page 37, as I recall. The mysterious creative hierarchies, which are the foundation of the zodiac signs. They are, in fact, groups of deific beings that interact with humanity and help us grow through those zodiac influences, which are evolving all the time. So, as I've said, water, Scorpio is a water sign, it's a symbol, which is a symbol of the emotions. And Mars, the ruler of Scorpio, is also the ruler of the solar plexus, the gateway to the emotional or astral body, and which works very closely with the sacral center, the sexual chakra just below it. Desire arises in both centers, really, in the solar plexus, and then locks in with the energy from the really instinctual primordial energy of the sacral center, and hence the sexual experience is brought about with sexual desire. And that's why Scorpio is so notorious, in fact, for the theme of sex. Its abuse, right use, or not. And its relation to power, of course. Scorpio is a sign of power, being ruled by Pluto, who is the ruler or co-ruler of the first ray of will or power. And therefore Scorpio is tested on the right use of power, on the right use of sex, but all those other 9 heads of the Hydra as well. So if you have, even if you're not a Scorpio, or maybe you've got a few planets in Scorpio, the moon or rising sign or something like that. But if you've got no points in your horoscope in Scorpio, it's always good to review Scorpio as if you did, because we all carry one or other of these 9 heads of the Hydra that for lifetimes. We could say maybe identify one, major one or two that we can see in our makeup that needs work. And we start to work on it. And in fact, quite often that head can mask another head once we peel back the layers of the onion. And so another one pops up when we deal with that. So it really is, it can be a wild ride with being a Scorpio or Scorpio rising. Have many ups and downs in lifetime. Not necessarily more than the other signs, but quite often, yes, a life of great intensity. of great emotional anguish in dealing with the vicissitudes of the emotional body, and the 3 stages of discipleship take us through various incarnations where we gradually weed out a lot of these factors from the path of aspiration to the path of discipleship to the path of initiation, and gradually increase the frequency of the atoms which are vibrating within the astral body until and a master can see at a glance any of the candidates for initiation in his ashram just by the light, the quality or color of the light that a disciple carries, that he has an inner vision of, and can ascertain when that disciple is ready for initiation. Initiation, of course, is a science and a sub-science of esoteric astrology, which is regarded as the science of all sciences. And initiation was begun on this planet because we fell far behind in our evolution through the failure of the moon chain, as I'm fond of discussing in my Hidden History Humanity talks. So we're playing catch up, and as soon as anyone becomes aware of the fact that they are moving towards another initiation, then it's like jumping on a fast-moving train and you can't get off after that. You're committed to the path and working on yourself, and shortening the cycle of incarnations, essentially. You don't have to do 20, you could just do 5 if you put every move correctly, if you put your foot right in the right place. So, of course, this last century has seen a great number of humanity reverse the wheel, as it's called, and take the first initiation, where there is an awareness of the soul principle or the Christ consciousness within. And in the last few years, I believe this has happened again in large groups of people, because paradoxically, all the things that these materialistic forces are throwing at humanity have woken up a lot of humanity. People are saying, hang on a second, what's going on here? No, I don't buy what they're saying. And so people have emerged from group consciousness, mass consciousness, into independent thinking, critical thinking, and discernment, as well as the sense of soul. Of course, the fact that the hierarchy are approaching humanity is certainly giving a lot of people are picking up on that. They may not be able to say what it is, but they can certainly sense that soul energy of the greater group soul or world soul, of that which is holistic and based on loving kindness. So just a point too about our center, the Aquarian Wisdom Center retreat in Portugal. We had a conference in Aries this year. Seems like years ago, but it was only just over 6 months ago. And that was on the theme of European unification. And you can find all the videos and talks that we did for 4 days on our website. Inez might be able to pop that link in the chat for you at some point, but most of you know it anyway. Plus, we finished our 40-week course of the Mysteries Unveiled that began in 2022, in October 2022, and finished several weeks ago as well. And I'm just saying this because the purpose of this school is to establish a retreat for meditation and learning the ageless wisdom such as I'm discussing tonight. And that we are still focused on that goal, albeit very hard sometimes to hold the focus during this critical world period, but nonetheless, it is being held. And therefore, I invite any of you here to contribute through or volunteer or donate to the work that we're doing, to remind yourself of the vision. If you go to our website and check out the various headings on the menu and explore them, if you're not already familiar with them, or to remind yourself of what we stand for. And that's why we keep these monthly meetings going, and we'll have other initiatives that we'll announce probably in the new year with regard to maybe future meetings or even a conference. So just as an aside, to give a plug, if you like, for our work. But I know I thought it was important because I do forget to mention it in other talks. And so just to give us a context and perspective of why we do these monthly presentations. And so back to Scorpio. Scorpio is part of the fixed cross in the zodiac. So you've got Taurus opposite, and the polar opposites are always important. We bring together the 6 pairs of zodiac signs to create a synthesis. We balance the pairs of opposites and create unity from each of those opposites. So if you're a Virgo, the Pisces polarity is important, and so forth. But we also can consider the whole cross that a person is on. So Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius. We can draw from all 4 arms of the fixed cross and also the rulership of the exoteric and esoteric rulers, which in turn rule rays. So when you consider one cross, there's quite a host of energies coming through it by the planets and by the rays that come through the signs. For instance, the 4th ray of harmony through conflict, the major ray of humanity, is the only ray to pour through Taurus and Scorpio. In Leo, the 1st ray of will or power and the 7th ray of, the 5th ray of science or knowledge are the 2 rays that come through Leo. First ray is the most potent at this point in time. And in Aquarius opposite, we have only the 5th ray of knowledge and science coming through it. But it is distributed by Uranus, the exoteric ruler of Aquarius, which is in turn the ruler of the 7th ray of ceremonial order of magic, which we are just entering a cycle of. Or we have been in a cycle for a while, but it's getting much stronger now, since about 1945. So again, you can see the many influences that esoteric astrology brings or sheds light upon. In fact, when you discover the rays, in terms of applying them to yourself or to a nation or a country or to any other thing that the rays rule, because the rays condition everything, then you realize that you've found the missing part of astrology. The ray qualities and characteristics are behind a lot of the signs. because they pour through the signs. They are transmitted through the zodiac signs, these living beings we call zodiac signs. So the fourth ray of harmony through conflict comes through Scorpio, means just that, harmony through conflict, through the conflict of the warring pairs of opposites that were resolved in ourselves over many lifetimes. And so we get to different stages or rungs on the ladder where equilibrium is the result of resolving the pairs of opposites. And we might go through a minor initiation or even a major initiation. Then we go through harmony, through conflict again, which is resolved ultimately into harmony on a higher turn of the evolutionary spiral. And we take perhaps another minor initiation or major initiation. And so it goes on for the rest of humanity. Oh, there's something in the chat there, was there? Just wanted to, I think I missed that just a minute. Heidi says, is Scorpio also a manipulator? Oh, yeah, very much. All the signs can be manipulating. Gemini is very manipulative, for instance. Pisces can be very manipulative, but Scorpio is probably the arch manipulator. And also, particularly if you combine it with the third ray of active intelligence, whose shadow is manipulation, and or Gemini. But I did a talk once at a conference called Control Freak, through the signs. And all the signs have a propensity for control, but at very different levels. Scorpio is a manipulator and a control freak, quite obviously in its lower sense. Okay, I'm not talking about the more spiritually advanced. But all the other signs have their ways and means of in terms of their lower expression in terms of manipulation. So yeah, good question there, Heidi. Thanks. So Scorpio's realm, in many ways, is the swamp. It's interesting how politicians talk about draining the swamp, because of all the corruption and the filth and just the plainly revolting things that go on, that you hear about, that you read about. And it's all because of the polarization of the bulk of humanity in the astral sphere that Scorpio rules over, and the lower subplanes of the astral sphere in particular. When again you look at those percentages of developed consciousness in humanity, in the 20% approximately, and the 80% who are not so mentally developed, then you can see why we have so many problems and why it's so easy for the materialistic forces to manipulate humanity, to create a fear campaign and to create fear through propaganda on a host of different issues. Look how easily humanity was driven into fear in the last few years. And a lot of people learned some big lessons from that, of course. And so each time that those forces attempt to create fear, however, I'm noticing that people are not falling for it so much now. They're going, wait a minute, no, won't get fooled again, as that line from the Who song says. And this is very encouraging. Even right now, we're seeing some amazing dialogues emerging from the Israeli conflict. and working towards a solution for this very poisonous toxic thorn in the side of humanity that's been festering for the last 75 years, at least in Palestine, but longer centuries than that too. Do you have any comments or questions? Hmm. So we are living in really very tumultuous times, and in fact, as I also mentioned frequently in my newsletters, I believe we're in the third phase of the world wars, World War One and Two. This third phase finishing, hopefully, this 1 century later, roughly speaking, but fought out mainly upon the mental plane. Look at all the ideologies, the clashing ideologies in religion, in terms of morals, in terms of the schism in science, for instance. You know, follow the science or not. Follow the real science or the bogus science. All these things are really accelerating human consciousness and developing discrimination. Now, where was I going with that? Let me think now. I lost my thread there. I had about 3 or 4 threads, and I trying to decide which one to go on. Anyway, um, yeah, where the so the planning for this reappearance of the hierarchy may start. Well, it's started already, I think, of course, but they can't just come back and save us from ourselves. They may have to, but what they're doing is waiting for us all to step up and do the work. I think in the esoteric or spiritual communities, there's been some major failures. There's been some huge blind spots in the last few years. Thanks for the message there, Inez. Okay, I saw that. We have to wind this up in a few minutes. So, but what I was going to say was that the next few decades will see the planning of the externalization of the hierarchy, and the personnel being organized in all the ashrams for the reappearance of the masters themselves, and culminating with the reappearance of the Christ. And I've said in some past newsletters that that could be as late as 2080. But depending on world need, it could be much sooner. Either way, we'll get to see it in this lifetime or the next. And what a momentous occasion that will be. And so the work for the new schools on the ageless wisdom are the seeds for the new schools that the masters will supervise when they return. These schools essentially for initiation, preparing large groups of students and of humanity for initiation and following through on this acceleration that I discussed before, the planet as a whole. So we'll make great strides during the age of Aquarius, I'm sure. And to that end, the sign Scorpio plays a huge role in testing and sifting all the human souls who are working towards their various goals. All right, I'll stop there, I think, unless there's any other questions. The full moon tomorrow is at time, I think it's tomorrow night about 11 p.m. or something like that. Saturday. Yeah, 22. Well, I think it's 2024 GMT. If you're living in Central Europe, -2 hours, it's 22:24. Yeah, about, so it's 20. It's on the newsletter anyway. All right then. Do we have anything in the chat? Very good. All right, friends. Look forward to seeing you all next month, and have a great full moon period. We'll see you later. I'll hand it back over to you, Inez.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next month.